Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahum wal hada. Greetings again. We're here once again, enjoying another episode of the Pen Files. This week, we're going to cover chapter 13 from the book From Pen to Pen. This time, we're going to talk about CWP, another component of the transition of the acronyms. Another component of the transition of the acronyms, CWP. CWP is also known as the Critical Writing Program. During my stay at the Community College of Philadelphia, I had the opportunity to embark upon a journey. This journey provided me with the ability to see, examine, and understand. It gave me the ability to see things individually, socially, economically, fundamentally. It gave me the ability to examine things, the percentages, target population, stakeholders, the pros, the cons. And it gave me the ability to understand. Those two in the beginning, seeing and examining, being able to understand what I'm looking at, being able to understand what I'm examining. When I embarked upon that journey at the CCP, Community College of Philadelphia, my sight was blurry. My vision, it was blurry. Because it wasn't coupled with understanding. It wasn't coupled with being able to sit back and examine, analyze a situation for what it's worth, and then bring about a conclusion based on the understanding that I have about what was examined. This is what brings us to today. This is what brings us to the CWP, the Critical Writing Program. The Critical Writing Program. And what will explain to thee what the Critical Writing Program is. It is a program in which you take one word. From that word, you make out of it a sentence. From that sentence, you turn it into a paragraph. From that paragraph, you complete a page of writing. But you have to go back now and examine what was just put on paper. When I was at the Community College of Philadelphia, this form of examination wasn't there. It may have been taught, but I didn't see it through the eye and the vision that I received at attending the University of Pennsylvania. Now, this program, this is an elite program. And why do I say that? Because when you turn your work in, it's not going to be judged by your teacher, by your professor. So the individual who is your professor, he's not going to be the one judging your work. But rather, he's going to be the one that's going to be schooling you, educating you on putting together that first sentence. putting together that proposition. What you propose? You propose to argue, or do you propose to explain? One sentence can define those two components. One sentence can propose an explanation. One sentence can propose an argument. Is that what's being taught inside your academy? Is that what's being taught inside of your institution? This is why I said the critical writing program at the University of Pennsylvania is premier. It's a premier program. Again, I gotta continually go back to the community college. I have to continually go back and make the comparison and the contrast between the two components. English 101, English 102. The first level of English, the second level of English. The second level is more difficult than the first level, but they both college-ready forms of English. But Penn, they don't just want you to write. They want you to critically examine what you're writing. And this has been put into a program called the Critical Writing Program, a program that is mandatory upon each and every student that attends this university. If you attend the University of Pennsylvania for your undergrad degree, you're going to have to embark upon the critical writing program. Not only are you going to have to embark upon it, you're going to have to cross the bridge. You're going to have to pass. You don't get through Penn unless you get through CWP. Let me say that again. You're not going to be able to graduate if you don't complete the critical writing program. Every student that attends Penn has to participate in this class. And like I said, the student that completes this successfully has the ability to examine writing. He has the ability to distinguish writing, good writing opposed to bad writing. He has that ability. He has that skill. Where's the proof? I told you before that the critical writing program, in order for you to complete it, you're not going to be graded by your teacher, your professor, but rather you're going to be graded by a board of scholars, in the field of writing. These scholars are going to take your paper, each and every paper that's being forwarded to them, and they are going to come to a conclusion on whether or not this paper is passing or failing. And you're going to be graded from A to F. From A, the best grade, to F, the worst grade, failing. And you gotta take whatever you had in the past about writing, and you gotta like put that to the side. Leave that on the side and reserve that for later. You may have to have to utilize. You may can use some of it. But what you're going to see when you examine the critical writing program is a lot of this stuff, they're not teaching it nowhere else. It's only certain places teaching this type of education. It's certain universities giving you information like this. My professor, Roger LeGrand, hell of a guy. Hell of a guy. He's my mentor. Guy helped me learn how to write, from so many different angles. So I asked him, I said, hey, Raj, man, why we here? I said, in order to get into the school, we had to write. And in order for us to get accepted, our writing had to be accepted. So as we're students inside this university, why we have to do some more writing? He said, if you're in this class, then you know how to write. I said, okay, I can agree with that. He said, but this class is going to take that level of writing that you have to a much higher level. And I said, okay. So what about what I already had? He said, we're going to capitalize off of that and we're going to enhance it and allow that form of writing to elevate to the next level of writing of which you're here in this class. This is what you're here for. So I said, all right, okay. So it's about patience. I got to be patient. Just wait. I got to wait for it. He said, yeah, pretty much. But trust me, you're going to get more, way more than what you're looking for. So again, we started off with just one word, one sentence. And you took that sentence and you created from that sentence an argument, or you created from that sentence an explanation. Other schools, they call it thesis. Other schools call it your thesis. University of Pennsylvania calls it a proposition, what you propose. What you propose to happen. The death penalty should be abolished. What is that? Is that an argument or is that an explanation? When you sit down and you examine that statement, the death penalty should be abolished. What are the key words that stand out? To help you understand which one of these two from the category fits this criteria. Is it argumentative? What's the key word to show that it's an argument? Should. Everyone should identify with the word should. It should be like this. Who says? It should be like that. Why? That's an argument. The rain was coming down heavily, and it started to form a flood. What is that? Explanation. Key words. the key words, the terminologies. You have to be able to identify with certain terminologies inside of sentences that says what about a sentence? That this is what? This is an argument, or this is an explanation. In the field of critical writing, arguments, they start at the top. They start at the top of a sentence. Or that you might find them at the bottom. Or you might find it in the middle. You have to be able to identify where it's at. And then from that paragraph, you begin the thing that we call cohesion, where so you connect them. You connect this paragraph to that paragraph. You connect this sentence to that sentence, to that sentence, to that sentence. Now you have a paragraph. Now you connect this paragraph to the next paragraph. Huh? And you allow your writing to what? Have a what? Have a methodology connected to it. A methodology. A methodology of explaining, a methodology of explanation, a methodology of argumentation, a methodology of argumentation. I'm arguing my point. I'm defending my point. I'm explaining my point. I'm giving explanation to my point. This is what the critical writing program has to offer. So whenever you find an individual and he's writing, he has a story, and you see his story for what it's worth, you'll be able to examine it and you'll be able to critically critique this type of writing. And you're able to say whether this type of writing is okay writing, good writing, you know. And you're able to put this kind of writing in categories. Because why is writing important? Why is writing important? Because people read. Because you have an audience. You have a target population. Huh? You have an audience. You have a target population. You have stakeholders. You have an audience. Who is your audience? Who are you talking to? What do they know and what do they not know? This is how you know what to say. You have to know your audience. You have to know your target population. Who is this aimed at? Who is investing in this? This will help you understand how to argue. This will help you understand what you need to explain to these individuals. This is what the critical writing program has to offer. Why? And how can this be applied? In the field of policymaking, in the field of putting together programs, in the form of treatment, in the form of rehabilitation. How do you expect your audience to accept what you're trying to say if it's not explained clearly with detail? Or how do you expect your audience to respect your argument if the proofs are not established so the excuses can be cut off? How? Critical writing. Critical writing is the key. So whenever you embark upon a journey of education, you're going to realize that you're going to have to write. Another reason why we call this the pen files. It's all about writing. The pen files. From pen to pen. It's all about writing. Huh? How many got it? How many have it right now? We all should. Everyone in the audience should have it by now. We're on chapter 13. We there. We're almost halfway through. From pen to pen. What do you know? What don't you know? In the beginning, what did you know in the beginning? Just starting off, chapter 1. What do you know now? Huh? When you talk to your audience, what do they know and what do they not know? When you talk to your audience, what are they educated about? What are they not educated about? When you're establishing your argument, what do they already know? What do they not know? What do they need to learn? What do they need to hear? The power of influence is key. You have to have the power of influence in the form of an explanation or in the form of an argument. Critical writing, critical examination. In this field, I embarked upon another component. It's called complex synthesis. Now, chasing scholarship, you're going to come upon complex synthesis. What is complex synthesis? Complex synthesis is when the scholars agree or disagree on an argument. When the scholars agree or disagree with an argument. So I was trying to get an understanding, and I was talking to the professor. I was talking to my man Roger the Dodger. So I said, Raj, man, in Islam, we have this thing called muttafaqun alayh. Muttafaqun alayh is when two scholars come together and agree upon the same narration, that the narration is authentic, that the narration is considered authentic. They both agree on the same statement. So I said to the teacher, is this an example of complex synthesis? He said, you're absolutely right. He said, this is what complex synthesis is. And you put it in a nutshell. So I'm like, okay. The narration of hadith goes back 1,400 some odd years ago. The scholars of hadith, they go back hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So you saying this has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years? And many people today still don't have a clue about it? Many people today are boggled and confused about the scholars agreeing and disagreeing, and how your arguments can be strengthened and weakened based on complex synthesis? Yes. Mind blowing. It blew my mind. Again, remember what he said? It's going to take your knowledge, it's going to take your level of writing, it's going to enhance it, it's going to elevate it to a whole nother level. So whenever I'm citing information, whether I'm citing information for my arguments, I found out that, and this is my argument for my dissertation. My argument for my dissertation is each and every inmate who leaves a correctional facility, whether it's state, federal, local, with educational, vocational, or religious commitment, he's less likely to return back to jail. He's less likely to return back to jail. That's an argument. I have to prove it. But when you go back to the history of the scholars, They unanimously agree. Complex synthesis has proven my argument way before I came up with it. Complex synthesis has proven that my argument has accuracy connected to it. That if an individual does time, and while this individual is incarcerated, and he partakes the journey of education or vocation, a skill, or he commits himself to religion, and he really allows religion to play an impact, have a major impact on his life and moving forward, and he leaves, meaning he is discharged, he is released, and he returns back into society, and he goes and he tries to implement and practice these principles that he's learned while incarcerated. The stats say, percentage-wise, he's less likely to return. The stats say, statistical analysis says, he's less likely to return to society. Why? This is where it gets deeper at. This is why I have to bring more information. Critical analysis exposes everything. You have to be able to answer each question. 5. You have to be able to answer all 5 questions. Who are we talking about? What are we talking about? Why are we talking about it? When are we talking about it? When does this apply? And where? Who, what, when, where, and why? Whenever you write, you have to be able to cover each and every one of these components. Who, what, where, why. And if you're really using critical examination, then you're able to give justice to the article that you're writing about, the essay that you're moving forward with. You have to be able to answer those questions. They have to be identified inside of your argument. They have to be identified inside of your explanation. Who are we talking about? Who is this for? Who is going to benefit? Who is going to be harmed? You have to cover all of those angles. This is what we call detail. You want to get deep into detail? Cover those every time you write. Utilize those components every time you write, and you're going to be able to what? You're going to give justice to your writing. You're going to give justice to your writing. This is critical writing at its best. This is critical examination at its best. And again, that's all we have for you guys today. You got to get the book. I only can give you pieces. I only can give you pieces of this. You have to get the book. The goodies is inside the book. Until next week, my brothers, my sisters, I'd like to thank you all again for coming out, for being here again another beautiful week. Buy the book. Get the ebook. It's a lot cheaper. It's just $10. The original book is $23. But if you get the ebook you can pull it up on your phone. Take it wherever. You don't have to carry it around. You can inbox at thepenfiles@gmail.com, thepenfiles@gmail.com. For those who would like a book with a signature on it, The Pen Files, the pen, P-E-N, files, F-I-L-E-S, @gmail.com. Please, all input, advice, criticisms, constructive, destructive, please send them to me. I'm here for you guys. Love you all. وكل قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ونسأل الله تعالى والتوفيق والثبات والسداد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Yeah, guys, we good. We done for today. We good. There's another week, another flow. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we did what we're supposed to do, guys. Until next week. All right. Right. Well, I just got a request from my compadre, my man Cav. He told me to go 15 extra minutes. Well, he said go 15 extra minutes. Why not? I mean, take advantage of the opportunity. You have to really sit down and examine what you're writing, what you're putting on a piece of paper, in order for you to really know if this writing is going to be effective, if it has the power of influence. You have to know your audience. It's very important that your audience is examined. Who is in the audience? Who is listening? Who is taking all of this in? That's something that's very, very critical. That's a critical component in getting your word out. A critical component when trying to express yourself and share with others your ideals, share with others your opinions, share with others your arguments, share with others your explanation. In order for you to get it out, you have to have somebody agree with you. Everyone's not going to agree, but you have to have an argument that's concrete, an argument that's substantiated with proofs and evidences. Proofs and evidences. You might have an argument, and that argument may contain 5 pieces of argument, 5 pieces of proof. The question is, can you defend your argument? Can you provide evidence that will support your argument? Let's just say we're talking about the color of the sky. The sky is blue. You look up. How many are going to argue with you on that one? Some arguments are clear. Some arguments don't need no proof. But some arguments, you have to provide proofs and evidences. You tell a guy the sky is blue, you get 10 people to look up, what they all going to say. It's going to be unanimous. Now you got 10 different individuals supporting your argument. Complex synthesis. Arguments are strengthened when other individuals support the same argument that you bring. Arguments are weakened when multiple individuals disagree with what you present. So you have to be able to strengthen your argument with supporting casts. You have to have someone support your argument, defend your argument, support your explanation or defend your explanation, or it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be considered baseless and argument without merit. And if it has no merit, then it has no benefit. This is how policy is created. This is how cases are cited. This is how legislation is legislated. You have to have these components in place. You have to. Now, again, being a part of this class, it really woke me up to the reality of writing and wanting to write and knowing how to write. So we just came upon a situation. In order to pass this course, you have to do this thing called a portfolio. And inside the portfolio, you have to bring an article. And your article has to be an argument that peer review. Peer review. What is peer review? Peer reviewed is a list of scholars, a form of education, a board of scholars who all have reached the level of scholastics. And these individuals are individuals who are looked at as scholars in the field. Medicine, scholars in the field. Education. And these are scholars who are peer reviewed. All of their peers, they all say the same thing about these guys. They all say the same thing. So-and-so is a scholar. So-and-so, him, he's a scholar. So-and-so, him, he's a scholar. So-and-so, him, he's a scholar. But when you have a board of scholars, and connected to the field of medicine, connected to the field of education, you'll find these scholars in the field of journals. The Journal of Medicine, the Journal of Education, the Journal of Psychology. These are guys that's peer-reviewed scholars. These are the ones when you're citing arguments, when you're citing support for your argument, these are the guys you use. And when you have multiple scholars agreeing on the same thing, you have what? Complex synthesis. You have complex synthesis. When you have multiple scholars agreeing on the same thing, not regular scholars, but scholars who are considered peer-reviewed. Scholars that come with journals. The Journal of Psychology, the Journal of Medicine, the Journal of Education, the Journal of Marriage and Family, the Journal of Therapy. These are premier scholars that make up the peer-reviewed scholarship. And when you're writing, you're not going to Google. You're not going to Google to get your information. You're not going to who's the other kid? The other kid, Kiwi, Wiki, Wikipedia. You're not going to these guys to defend your argument. These are not scholars. They're going to be holes are going to be poked in your argument. Holes are going to be poked. Why? Because these individuals, they're going to be refuted by individuals who are considered as peer-reviewed scholars. So you're not going to find individuals who's going to substantiate your argument if you're getting your information from Wikipedia, if you're getting your information from Google. You're not gonna find your argument being substantiated or proven. You have to have the correct search engine, a scholastic search engine, such as EBSCOhost. EBSCOhost. EBSCOhost is premier. Why is EBSCOhost premier? Because when you utilize the search engine from EBSCOhost, what does it have? It gives you what you're searching for, your argument. You got to put it in keywords. You got to put keywords in. The search engine goes by keywords. Now, you can search for an argument such as the opioid epidemic has destroyed a large population of the Philadelphia community. And then that's one line. And then you put "and" outside of that area. And meaning it's giving you the opportunity to add information to the information that you're looking for. And then you're able to really hone down what you want to come back. Because now you're going to look at the dates. When you're writing in the field of scholastics, we're only looking at 10 years. If you're in school and then you're in the field, we're only looking for your information to go back 10 years. So if it's 2021, how far can we go back? You can't write something. You can't forward information, put it in your argument. It's 2021. You got information from 2009. Does 2009 go past the 10-year mark? Teachers, they frown upon this. Why? Because within 10 years, 10 years is considered as what? A decade. In 10 years, information is continually changing. Information is continually changing. The scholars say one thing today and then they'll say something else, or they'll add to it, or based on more research, they have taken away. So you have a what? You have a timeline. When you're sitting down and you're doing this research, you have a timeline. You want to go back to the 1800s? Yes, we could do that kind. We could do that kind of research, because when you do your research, when you do your critical examination, you always have to have a historical background. You always have to have historical background. You always have to, where's this coming from? And when I said where, when, the when. When did this happen? When did this first start? What is the origin of this? What's the origin of this point? Another component is the text. Is it the full text? Is this article the full text, or is it just abstract? Are they just giving you the abstract article? Just giving you glimpses and pieces of what the scholar or the writer of the article had to say. Full text or not? All articles aren't full text. You don't get the full text. You want an article with the full text. That means what? From the beginning to the end. You don't want a summary version. You want the full text, because you don't know what kind of evidence inside of this article you could use to defend your argument. The next one is peer review. You check this out. Peer review, the scholars. And this is what all this is about. When you Google, you don't get the opportunity to do this. You don't get the opportunity to use a timeline for Google. You don't get, there's no real time. You get to put in your own information, because this is the money. These are the keywords that you're going to use to try to help find arguments related to your topic. Okay? So this is very important. Very important. Why? Because in this field of writing, is connected to scholastic. It's connected to scholarship. And like again, this ain't for the layman. This not for the layman. It's not for the guy that's just getting started. Okay. Remember, you start off with you have to at least have a high school diploma to get started. You want to go to school, you got to at least have a high school diploma. GED. Okay. When you have that, it allows you to be able to enter into the college field. It allows you to be able to enter into the field of colleges and universities. You get placement. You find out where you at. You find out through placement tests if you're able, if you're capable, if you're knowledgeable enough, if you're ready, if you're college ready. This ain't for everybody. Like I said, this is levels. So just to start off, you start off on the 2 year. You start off in a 2-year college. 2-year college is Community College of Philadelphia. A 2-year college will give you what? A 2-year college will expose you and tell you whether or not you're ready for school or not. True story. A 2-year college will educate you and help you understand whether or not you're ready for college or not. If you're ready, you're going to know. Why? You're going to excel. You're going to excel. Every semester, you take 2 to 4 classes. In the end, you're going to get what? You're going to get a grade book. You're going to get a report card back. A transcript saying, what did you get? A, B, C, D, E, F. No G's. You're going to know. So from there, you make that decision. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to go from here? Where do I want to go from here? You want to go up? You want to go down? You just want to say, hey, I'm content with this. I'm content. Now, in the field of education, 2 years is an associate's degree. You have an associate's degree in economics. You have an associate's degree in behavioral health and human services. You have an associate's degree in engineering. 2 years. You just scratching the surface. You just scratching the surface. When you do an essay, the most your teacher is asking for is 2 peer-reviewed scholars. Or your last, the second year, your last semester, they might be asking for 3 to 4 peer-reviewed scholars. Okay? When you get up there and they're asking you for 10 and 15, you know all of your work has to be peer reviewed. You get to the bachelor's level. You start off at a freshman, then sophomore. You get those 2 out the way, you're a junior. You're a junior, you're not in the university. You're in the university now. You're a junior. It's picking up. Your scholasticism is picking up. Your scholarship is picking up. Now you're in your 4th year. Yeah, the teachers are asking for what? They're asking for all kinds of information from you. The article, your essays, they got to be fully loaded with scholarship. Fully loaded with scholarship. If they're not fully loaded with scholarship, then who's defending your argument? Who's defending your argument? We have a principle in our religion. The principle says, "Fasalu ahlu dhikrin kuntum la ta'lamun." Ask the people of knowledge when you don't know. Ask the people of knowledge when you don't know. Is this not a proof about scholarship? Is this not a proof about scholarship in the field? When you're in the field and you're writing, critical analysis, who do you use as a defense for your arguments? The scholars. The scholars. The scholars. You have to utilize the scholars. You can't use anyone else. You have to use the scholars. Now you're on the next level. You done graduated, your bachelor's. Now you're talking about delving into the masters. The masters. Masters is a whole nother league. The masters is, well, no, you gotta take your jacket off. I mean, the masters is a whole nother field. You know what I mean? And everyone's not ready for masters. Some people are content with their bachelors. Some people are content with their associates. It's the associate, the bachelors, the masters, the doctorate, PhD. It's 4 levels. It's 4 levels of scholasticism. 4 levels. That first level, everyone, they thinks they know everything. That first level, they think they know it all. Then they elevate. They realize they don't know nothing. They get humble. They're humble by the knowledge. They see it's overwhelming. It's just too much. All of it cannot be contained. All of it cannot be absorbed, no matter how much you try. You're not going to get it all. You want to try to learn it all, but you're not going to get it all. You're only going to get a little bit. You're going to be humbled by it. Knowledge is going to humble you. This is what the critical writing program does. It humbles you. Because a man comes into this program thinking that he knows how to write. If he's standing, he's going to sit down. If he's standing, he's going to sit down. If he's sitting, he's going to lie down. The critical writing program will put you on your wallet. It will humble you and make you realize that you don't know anything, that you're just learning. And you're traveling this journey continually, learning more and more. You're becoming more and more educated, more and more aware of. But knowledge, you only have a little bit of it. Just a smidget. That's why so many different fields. Do you have all the fields together at one? Of course not. No one has them all. And this is what should humble you. Because you know you only know that much. No matter how much you think you know. Like the guy who you say, oh, you think you know everything. No, he doesn't. He doesn't know it. He doesn't know nowhere near everything. He hasn't scratched the surface of knowing everything. The critical writing program will expose you to that. Complex synthesis will expose you to that. Google Scholar, Google, Wikipedia, that will expose you. You show up game day, finals. Your whole argument is Wikipedia. And you turn this in, this your final. What you think's gonna happen? What kind of grade you think you're gonna get? You're gonna receive everything from plagiarism to incomplete, your argument is going to be considered incomplete. You haven't established any argument. You haven't established any proof. You haven't brought about any proofs that are substantiated or supported by the peer review scholars of the field. You haven't supported, you haven't cited any scholars in your work. How do you expect us to respect this work if the scholars don't speak to it? How do you expect us to respect your work if the peer review scholars do not speak for your work? If your work is not being honored by the scholars of this field, then what are you defending? What are you defending? The scholars of research have said each and every individual who leaves a correctional facility with what? Education, with what? Vocation, with what? Religious commitment in some cases, spirituality some cases, religion some cases. He's less likely to return back to jail. But he must implement and practice these components the same way that he was when he was incarcerated. If he's not practicing these components while he's at liberty, he's going to do what? He's going to revert back to that which he knows. He's going to revert back to which he knows. That which helped him go to prison in the beginning, that's what he's going to revert back to. That's all he knows. That's what he's good at. That's what he's well versed at. He's comfortable with that. Even though he has these skills, but he's not ready to apply them. Why? Because he never went down this path before. He never traversed this path. He never traveled down this path before. He don't know what it's like at the end of this line. He don't know what it's like to be successful doing good. He don't know what that's like. He never tried it out before. But this path here, the path connected to criminal activity, the path that's connected to drug dealing, drug selling, but drug buying and selling, the path that's connected to this, burglary, burglarizing houses, burglarizing stores, the path that's connected to armed robbery. He's familiar with this path. He knows the outcomes of this. He knows he's only going to run for a minute, and before you know it, he's going to be what? He's going to be back in cuffs. But he doesn't know the outcome of utilizing the skills of education and vocation and religious commitment out here in this place called society. He doesn't know what's at the end of the line for that. But if he does research, he'll find out. If he does research, who's going to tell him? The scholars. The same thing with drugs, alcohol, burglary, robbery. The same one's going to tell you. The scholars going to tell you, you're going to jail and you're going to be killed in the streets. The scholars are going to tell you, you're going to jail, you're going to go to jail, or you're going to be killed in the streets. The scholars going to tell you, if you utilize your field of education, you're going to be competitive in the workforce. If you utilize these tools that you acquired while you were incarcerated, now you take these same tools to the workforce and utilize them in the workforce, you're less likely to return back to jail. You're more likely to be successful. You're more likely to acquire the three components to make a sound human being: education, housing, employment. Education, employment, and housing. This is how racism is controlled in our society. This is what they don't want you to have. But if you acquire this, you acquire these three components here, you have attained a level of success that many people in this life will never obtain. You have obtained a level of success that many people in this life would never obtain. Why? Because certain groups, certain parties cripple societies with these components. They cripple society with these components. Education, employment, housing. They go hand in hand. They go together. Sit down one day, critically examine your education, critically examine your housing, critically examine your employment. And then you're going to see that's who you are. That's what you stand for. That's what you represent. All this goes back to critical writing. Now come to an end, guys. I thank you all again for your time, your support, your patience, your giving. Education, education. Let's get it, all right?